Coming up this morning for you on Daybreak, details of an arrest of 2 men from the Ozarks who are on their way to Wisconsin.
And we may get access to a new saliva-based COVID-19 test. We'll have details.
Also for you, how Missouri State's student government is trying to operate during a pandemic. That's all ahead in a live report for you this morning on Daybreak.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Daybreak. Today is Friday, September 4th. I'm Jennifer Abreu.
And I'm Joe Morano. I have not addressed this enough. I will say, a week from today, we'll be talking some Chiefs football, Jen, after they've played their first game.
That's right.
How do you
And
like that?
yeah, a lot of people excited for that. And hopefully they will get to play, because that has been a concern too.
Of course.
Yeah, if we're going to have some players on the field.
A lot of testing being done, so we'll see what the NFL does. But as scheduled right now, the Chiefs are supposed to kick off tomorrow night to start the NFL season. Should be pretty good.
Hopefully, hopefully it all works out. And the weather too. We're getting closer and closer to football weather.
Did I say tomorrow? I meant Thursday.
No, I was like, what? What's happening tomorrow?
No.
He just is yearning for it so bad.
That's it.
Wish it was tomorrow.
There's a lot of college football tomorrow. I'll watch that.
Really?
And the Kentucky Derby's tomorrow. I forgot about all this.
It got canceled.
No,
it was supposed to be tomorrow, but I think they canceled it. Yes.
Wow, guys.
Yeah, that's been a back and forth
up.
too. Are we having it? Are we wearing masks? And then I think they canceled it completely.
Oh, man.
I have to double check that, but that's what I think they decided to do.
Whew. All right, we got a lot of sports
Lots of
catching up to do. We've also got to address the weather, though, right now, right? It looks a little hazy outside right now, Elisa.
Yeah, we've got some more of those clouds coming in as that front continues to prompt some showers and rumbles of thunder in Springfield. It is 61 degrees out there right now. Temperatures have dropped pretty quick with this front coming through. You've got a few showers and rumbles of thunder from Springfield to Joplin right along the I-44 corridor, where you've got some locally heavy rain near Rogersville, right there in Springfield, and then pretty much riding Highway 266 straight into Carthage with some locally heavy rain and some lightning there. Those are the only showers that we've got out of this front this morning. The rest of us are dry. You'll be much cooler behind this front. That's already happening to the north, where it's 55 degrees in Clinton and 73 degrees in Harrison. Dew points are really drying out to the north as well. It's still pretty humid to the south, so big change in that air mass on that muggy meter map. Mostly dry roads out there today. Again, in Springfield right now, you've got that very localized downpour, so you'll find some wet roads in Springfield. You're looking at a grade of an A by dismissal. Mostly sunny and cool with those highs in the lower 80s. Warmer for the holiday weekend. Details on that coming up in 10 minutes.
We have some breaking news to tell you about this morning. Springfield police are investigating a shooting from overnight. They say 2 people were arguing in the backyard of a house in the 1000 block of East Blaine around 11:15 last night. During the argument, a gun was pulled out and 1 person was shot. The male victim suffered what is believed to be a non-life-threatening injury. The suspect fled the scene. No one is in custody at this time, but police do not believe the public is in any danger. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you any updates as we learn more.
2 men from the Ozarks have been arrested and charged for illegally owning guns. Police say they were going to Kenosha, Wisconsin to, quote, possibly pick people off. Kenosha is where protests and riots have happened after the shooting of Jacob Blake. The suspects are 40-year-old Michael Carmo and 33-year-old Cody Smith. The 2 were roommates living in Hartville, Missouri. Now, these pictures that you see were gathered by police after looking at Carmo's Facebook page. The FBI received a tip on Tuesday that Carmo and Smith were traveling with a large arsenal of weapons. They included rifles with high-capacity magazines, a shotgun, and handguns. Police say Carmo bought firearm parts online and manually put them together. He shaved down the firing pin to make them untraceable. One text message that he had sent said, quote, "This is a game changer." Both men attended a President Trump rally before the protests began in Kenosha. They were also a part of the 417 Second Amendment militia. They traveled to Wisconsin to see proof of the rioting and were ready to defend themselves. A mutual friend was concerned about the trip and Carmo's, quote, crazy political talk, and that friend called police. It's legal to travel across state lines with guns. However, both men have prior offenses that prohibit them from even owning any firearms. They were arrested in a hotel outside of Kenosha and never made it to any of those protests.
One of Springfield's longest standing spots to grab a bite to eat was broken into this week, leaving the owner with a mess to clean up. The sub shop near the corner of Seminole and Glenstone was the site of that break-in. The owner, Ethan Seehusson, says he got to work around 7:30 Thursday morning to see his door shattered with a tow strap wrapped around his ATM machine. Part of his roof was ripped apart by what he presumes was a box truck trying to make the getaway. Luckily, he called in a favor from a regular who was there in a matter of minutes to help him clean up and replace the door, and all before they opened at 10. The sub shop is only open until 2:30, but just in that amount of time, they say word got out on Facebook and they had a day so busy they sold out of bread before they closed.
I had an outpouring of all my regulars, and it was awesome. It was awesome. It made me feel good about the world. I was able to sell sandwiches. I was able to make a whole lot of people's day probably better. Just about 90% of people that come through here are regulars. And if you're a first timer, you'll probably end up being a regular.
Now, while nothing ended up being stolen, he did file a police report, and Ethan says he'll likely spend his Labor Day weekend working on getting the shop fixed back up again.
In some education coverage, Missouri State's student government is working on ways to best serve its students in an unusual school year. Nija McDonald met with some of its members, joins us now live from MSU's campus to explain what she found out. Nija, good morning to you.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Well, the students I met with said that it's important for their peers to know that they are still here for them and that their voices are being heard, even if it looks different right now.
State's student government serves as the voice for its peers.
We kind of bridge that gap between administrators and students and try to bring students' ideas and concerns to life.
A responsibility student body president Tara Orr says matters now more than ever.
We have taken measures to kind of be more transparent and vulnerable with students and just saying like, hey, this is what we know. Here's how we want to help you.
Orr says they've created a way to virtually meet with students.
Just trying to be as personable as possible, but as safe as possible as well. So we have our Zoom accounts that we set up and start meeting with them through that.
She says she wants her classmates to know she's also trying to navigate during this unique time.
They're not alone in what they're feeling. I'm in this with them.
Student body vice president Blake Haynes says they're focusing on ways to safely connect with others.
We kind of tabled, if you will, for a week, handing out masks to the student body saying, hey, here's SGA, like, do you want to join? Here's who we are, but also here's a mask, like, stay safe, please wear it on campus.
As for advice for freshmen and transfer students, Haynes says,
I know it is a super weird time to be at school. Still continue to lean completely into the experience of what Missouri State can offer you. At least try and obtain those same opportunities, even if they look a little different now.
Well, both Haynes and Orr encourage students to find a safe way to get connected and involved on campus and to just try to make the best of your learning experience. Reporting live in Springfield, Nija McDonald, Ozarks First.
Some news from around the region now. In less than a month, a new saliva-based test could be used for COVID-19. Yesterday, Governor Parson and Senator Roy Blunt and others were at the Washington University School of Medicine to explain how this test works and how it could help the entire country. The test requires you to spit instead of using the nose swab. It was developed at Washington University in St. Louis. Some parts for the test are also made in St. Louis. Doctors are hopeful that it can yield results in about 24 hours. The test received approval from the FDA last week. Senator Blunt says as the country waits for a vaccine, this test is critical.
And we need to have testing that lets people get back to school, back to work, back to child care, and it needs to be exactly the kind of test that we were talking about here today.
The new test could be available as early as October. Nearly 1,400 new cases were reported yesterday alone.
We have some very locally heavy downpours right over Springfield this morning, stretching into Rogersville and then back towards Mount Vernon. Some little clusters of heavy downpours and lightning with a front coming through. Details on cooler air coming in behind this front coming up next.
From Color 10 Ozarks First, Jennifer Abreu, Joe Morano, and weather with meteorologist Elisa Rafa. This is Color 10 News Daybreak.